I'd like to call this meeting of the Whately Selectboard to order. At 6 o'clock. And first item of business on the agenda is to review and vote on meeting minutes from previous meetings. I think there are two of them, December 17th and January 14th. And then have any comments or?
No. Because the December 17th, they're edited.
And they're edited,
Revised.
yeah, they're revised one.
No comments.
No comments.
I move to accept the meeting minutes from January 14th and December 17th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, very good. Next is to review and discuss vendor payroll warrants. Were there any comments on those?
No.
Okay, very good. Great, public comment. Now it's time for residents who would like to provide comments up to 3 minutes per person on items not on the agenda. Does anybody want to talk about something not on the agenda? We'll take accolades on really any topic.
Well,
Okay.
them on the center school time.
And then looking online, I see a couple of people. Raise your hand, please, if you have anything for public comment. Okay, I don't see anybody online raising their hands, so this we're done with public comment. Our first item is an appointment with the Center School Committee on the completed Center School reuse feasibility study and recommendations for the future use of the property. So I don't know exactly who to turn it over to. Would that be Jenny?
That would be me, yes.
Okay,
Thank
Jenny.
you. Jenny Mary Morrison. We have previously sent you a summary of the 72-page feasibility study report, and that full report, I hope, has also been made available to you.
Yeah.
So this is our attempt to give you the update both on the report and how we, the committee, evaluate it. And there's several members of the committee here tonight. So it's a status report of what we've been doing, and we also have questions and requests for you at the end of that. So go ahead, Pete. So
Mine is on my computer, so I'm gonna just pull that up. I'm not trying to be rude and check.
well, this is something new that
No, this is what you sent me the other day.
that was a summary.
Right,
Um,
I'm gonna pull the summary up.
okay.
Yeah.
Great. And certainly if you have any questions from that, let us know. What we're giving you today is a different format.
Okay,
Obviously overlap of information, but some differences. So as you know, it was funded by both the grant from the National Trust and local historic preservation funds. The feasibility study RFP was awarded to McCabe Enterprises, and they used the 3 businesses listed in providing information with the grant. I mean, within the study. Go ahead, Pete. We met 9 times with Kathy McCabe. I believe she committed to 2 times, but she actually met with us 9 times. They were very productive meetings. They came and toured the building in addition to that with the structural engineer. He submitted a report. We did a traffic study on the road in front of the school. And we spent a lot of time both receiving and generating information to be assembled. The biggest piece that of significance in the structural report was that the attic floor can't be used for anything as is. The code it was built to is no longer current, so nobody can be up there. Stuff can't be up there without that being addressed. It's possible that when renovation actually happens, some alternate fixes would be identified to address that. For now, we know cabling could address that, but that would interfere with the usage.
That's the roof support pump. Bunker cabling.
Okay, thank you for the correction. So we were given both that information about the use of the attic and the cabling to repair the roof. They identified some immediate repairs. Go ahead, Pete, and Garrett took care of them, which we're very appreciative of. Feels like significant and solid movement, which really buttons down the building and gives this whole process more time.
But I add that the CPA pitched in some money to pay for the roof repairs
Thank you.
very quickly and enthusiastically.
Yeah, so we're really, that felt really significant to us, to actually see somebody up there on his genie lift and doing stuff and, you know, have the bushes in front, like, you know, sending water towards the building dealt with, and the gutter repair also that had been sending water to the building, so significant that there's been some real progress. Go ahead, please. So all along, we've been operating with these three assumptions: that the town retains the ownership of the building, that we're hoping to have long-term tenants, and have design that fits their needs, and that there will be formed some public-private combination to manage the details, however the final layout is. So it will belong to the town, but won't require significant oversight by the town. That's the goal. Go ahead, Pete. Okay, the grant had, was written to ask for these reuse options. Two had to do with housing, and there was one mixed use option. Again, McCabe went over and above what was expected of them, and at the committee's request, created two mixed use options. So those are all outlined in the report. All four of the options are based on this idea of a layout, which has the leach field in the back, doesn't interfere with the neighbor, has some parking in the back, maintains, or I should say recreates, a play area. And there's been discussion about how much of that is kid oriented, how much of that is park oriented, which may be the same thing, but that would be more on the Christian Lane side, not just in the back. In the building footprint as it is, the milk bottle staying on site. Go ahead, Pete. Each of the four options is based on research into the town and broader area in terms of what there's a need for. There's actually architectural designs for how to place these options within the building. There's estimates of costs based on 2027 funding, which is good forethought. Lists of possible grants to pay for it. And that list minimizes any town expenses. So we are functioning on the idea that with three for sure of the proposals, that there would not be burden on the town for achieving the goals. Go ahead, Pete. Okay, so the affordable housing option was one of the prescribed options in the grant. And they came up with 2 units, both 2 stories, two different sizes. Access, everything, every possibility that deals with accessibility includes accessibility. So, not this one, but they're still front and rear, but it doesn't make it
There's no elevator.
ADA. Okay,
Don't need to,
right, because private,
perfect families.
yeah. Okay, but that issue was definitely discussed at length throughout all of this. And the development costs and the projected available financing are high but similar, so offset each other. Okay. The senior housing option, which there certainly is a need for and an interest in, that design was 4 units. That one has an elevator. It has some shared common space, similar price tag, and similarly, we hope there's funding available with certainly a list of grants that could make that happen. Go ahead. The first mixed use space has co-working space, artistic showcase space, and childcare. Both this one and the next mixed use option in large part were generated by ideas that came from the survey that went out to the town. Again, there's a lift. It's significant dedication of space to childcare. There is demonstrated need for that. There's not a lot of childcare. There's never enough anywhere. That includes here. So that was one of the mixed use options.
What's the development cost on this one?
We'll get to it next slide, I think. So, you know, more detail in terms of what co-working space would include and what the childcare space would include. Total costs. Not fully covered by available grants, but hopefully manageable amount if that were the direction we went in. And second mixed use option also has a co-working space. It has also space for community art, but instead of the childcare space, instead of a space committed solely to childcare, we're focusing instead on this timeshare community kitchen. We still are in discussion about how to have some childcare support for parents who want to come use co-working space. We didn't rule that out in this plan, but it's not the same kind of dedicated to classroom space. The community kitchen is something that there's a lot of call for. One of the facts that we learned was every caterer and every food truck needs to have a kitchen that they are attached to. That's part of their regulations. So whether they use that to prepare food or not, they need to have something that is their home base. That alone generates need. In addition, we have farming community, we have cottage industry, cooking that could use some space, as well as occasional events that individuals do or businesses do. And right now, the church kitchen is
Not certified.
the only option in town, and it's not certified as a commercial kitchen. So there's nothing here. Okay, wait a minute, to go back one second, sorry. So this one has a little bit more cost. But still a shortage which is hopefully reasonable to obtain. And we have started the process and have more to do to research how do these work, what does it cost? We visited one kitchen already, there's some more we want to go look at. So, you know, the numbers are in development, obviously. Okay, the committee's preference is the mixed use option, which was also the preference of the Center School One committee. So there's some cohesion, consistency in the groups that have really spent time looking at this. We really like the fact that the mixed use means more people are using the building. They're in it, they're using it in different ways. That's a big change from it being a residential option. The mixed use kitchen in particular, the niche that it seems like we could fit in is people who want to start doing food preparation on a larger scale. Because there's not a lot in between your home kitchen and the packaging kitchens, which are 15 to 2,000 units that you're producing at a time. So that's the place that we would target ourselves. Okay, go ahead, please, the next. And the other drawback with looking at housing is it's not a large project in terms of units of housing that could be produced. And what we've heard from the housing committee and other partners who work on housing is that those are the grant proposals that are most likely to be accepted, is a bigger number of housing units. So that was one concern we had.
So I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. Earlier, when you said grants and such were identified that would cover the cost, it's not grants were identified that we think we can win. It sounds like you're saying now, we might not win enough of those grants because they often go to larger projects. So would that say that the grants that you were considering as part of money that would cover the 4.6 or 4.7 are not, they're not 100% because we don't have them.
Yeah.
Right?
But
And you're saying our chances are not as good on those grants. Okay, I just want to make sure we're talking about the same.
Actually, they're very bad.
They're very bad,
They're very bad.
yeah. No, which is, I think, why the housing committee was not interested. Okay, I just want to make
Well,
sure.
I was gonna clarify on behalf of the housing committee.
Oh,
That another reason for that is to find a developer for 2 units is very difficult. For 2 units of affordable housing, which is what we would probably want to develop. There are very few, if any, developers who are willing to take on a project that would be this cost intensive to undertake in the first place to produce 2 units.
Yeah, at a $2.2 million per unit on the first option, $2.2 million per unit is extremely high.
I think one should think about this. I'd like to make 2 points. One is that I would say at least $2 million of the cost is getting the building into shape and, you know, preservation of a historic resource. And there's a whole extra slew of grants and especially historic tax credits that are available for that. So, you know, yeah, it is 2.2 million per unit, but most of that is there.
That $2 million could be used on any project.
Yeah,
Regardless.
Yeah,
of
right.
use. Yeah.
and it does come with separate funding sources. To Joyce's point, what Kathy Cave did, I think, is give a compendium of possible grants for which the project would be eligible. And a reasonable, what she thought was a reasonable amount for each, you know. In some cases, it's a big push. In others, like I thought her CPA numbers were fairly conservative, but, you know, she indicated that with work, this is possible. But obviously, you know, there's scoring for each of these grants, and you want to be as close as you can. And that's another reason I think we like the economic development aspects of the mixed use, because they give it a, not only do they open up a whole new set of grants, but
Yeah.
but they,
Yeah, no, I just wanted to clarify
Yeah,
on the, like, when you say this much is paid for and this much have to come from the town, and that's, I know those are all estimates right now.
Yeah.
That I just wanted to make sure, it's coming back to the topic. So sorry for the interruption.
No, that's okay. I mean, I do want to point out that having options that didn't appeal to the committee as much as some other options, it takes nothing away from the value of the report. It was so helpful to have so many floor plans and ideas really teased out, and cost analyses, and the research involved in the geographic area. You know, how much office space is there? Is there a need for that? Not as much. That's one of the reasons it's not high on that there is a lot of space available, not as much need. That's one of the reasons it wasn't a big factor in the actual proposals. So, you know, the committee definitely had our own hierarchy of what we preferred, but getting all of the information involved in the study really helped in every way. Go ahead, Pete. Thank you. Because there were the two mixed use options, we basically asked for two when one had been.
hope for two.
We hope, well, whatever.
Yeah.
Both are true and we got it. We really liked the idea of having a kitchen in support of farming community if they were looking to go that route. That's a real central aspect of the town. It's still not a profitable business. And one of the ways that farming community is finding some profit is generating products beyond what they grow, but doing something with that. So making that easier both within town and in the area, we saw as a real plus. You know, Judy mentioned the supporting businesses growing. And we just saw this as something that people would get behind and be excited about. Now, we're certainly interested in your thoughts on it, but that's part of why it's our recommendation. So we've discussed ourselves what are next steps we need to do. We needed to confirm which aspect of the zoning.
Well, neither childcare nor commercial kitchens are explicitly mentioned in the zoning bylaws. I think educational uses are allowed, and I assume childcare would fall under that, but that's an assumption. We think that commercial kitchen is enough similar to a restaurant, which is allowed, that it would qualify, but I'm gonna call Jim Hawkins and get his opinion, and I put this based on the next CBA meeting. If we find out that they're not, there's time to amend the bylaw by the June town meeting, I think, to include them.
There is also that one use at the bottom of the use table that says any use that's similar to.
That's right.
That's, yeah, that's so childcare could,
Yeah,
and then
I mean,
I think
childcare
commercial
literally,
kitchen actually has a lesser impact than a restaurant because you don't have the same amount of vehicle traffic.
Yeah.
Or parking need.
yeah,
that
I
a
think both
restaurant
of them
would
would
have.
qualify as a home occupation. If this were a residence, I mean, neither of them is in.
You mean
whatever-
based on the size of the
Based on the
operation?
size of the operation, neither of them is intrusive, neither of them needs a lot of parking, and. Yeah, and I think analogous, that's why I've said all along, I really don't think there's a zoning problem, but we figured at this point, we better check it out.
Well, we wanted to make sure we were dealing with facts, not assumptions. So
Mhm.
this is the list we generated for ourselves. And, you know, this is we talked about, are we willing to keep working on these things and what else comes up? And we are. It's been a very productive committee. So, you know, obviously you may have ideas in addition to this or instead of some of these. But we are hoping for your blessing to keep going on this path. The US EDA Disaster Relief Grant, Kathy specified as one to look at now because it was based on the flooding that happened not last year, but the year before, and we're still within the window to access money based on that. That's the connection.
But Jenny, I would add to that EDA
Please.
funding that the window is still there, but the way EDA funding works is that there's a finite amount of money with no timeline. It's a rolling application process, and when the money's gone regardless of where you are in the window. So urgency is somewhat important.
Right, which to spell that out clearly, we specifically would like your permission to pursue that grant. And Carolyn has also done some research on it already.
Is there any match requirement?
Carolyn, do you know? Do you remember?
Not off the top of my head, but I can look quickly.
EDA typically does not have it, but
Yeah.
you know, but typically does not.
Because our only matching source of money at the moment is CPA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And oftentimes, if there is a match, it'll be in kind, which is pretty easy to.
That's easy. So kind of what I'm interpreting, some of what you're saying is that there's these four options. And at least on paper, the two housing options could cover their costs with grants. But we don't necessarily think the likelihood is very high. Because it's only 2 units or 4 units. There's two mixed use options that more or less cover their cost. Might require that, I mean, because I know these numbers can change. And those ones, though, it seems like you're more confident in the prospect of getting the money that they said these grants are gonna be maybe a little easier for us to get, be less competitive for us. I don't know if those are the right words, but that the mixed use, because of, like you were saying, because of this EDA grant, because of kind of the synergy with the farming community, that these things are, you're feeling like it's maybe a little more likely to get those grants.
there's,
Is that,
Sorry.
I mean, that's more or less, but even among the two commercial mixed use
it's not
ones.
all grant dependent, but because the other thing with housing is like each of these projects is dependent on finding a partner or two partners
Well, yeah,
to
that's,
work with.
that's another question.
Yeah, with the housing, we already, when we applied for the state grant previously, one, we found out that they didn't like small projects, and two, we investigated partners and all the local
Yeah.
housing development organizations like to work with ownership models.
Yeah.
They don't like the idea of not owning the building. And that made finding them, you know, you're gonna have to put together a package of partners.
Yeah.
A developer, somebody to manage the affordable
Yeah.
unit, somebody to manage the building.
Right. Yeah.
And that seemed like a big obstacle too.
No, okay,
George, if I may also, the other piece to the four more than the three, but both. Is the possibility of being part of the economic development grant at the state level.
Mhm.
which is a real possibility because of the combination of economic development with ag.
Mhm.
It's not just Whately, it's surrounding communities, it's regional partnerships, et cetera. But also the potential revenue generation from some of the vendors that would use the space. Some of the people who might want, a place to hang their hat because they work at home and they've got a big project. Different assets that we can put in there to make the space, very attractive. So those two things also make it, in my mind, and I've built a couple businesses, a pretty attractive proposition. Now, trust me when I say there are no guarantees on it,
Of course.
but and if you created a model, it'd be a pretty viable model.
Okay, I'm gonna keep going with some questions.
Yeah,
and then you
okay.
guys,
Is this an appropriate time for questions?
Sure.
I think they're on the next steps, so. For, I guess the first question I wrote down was about town ownership and leasing. Kind of implies that we have to maintain the building. That's, I mean, when you lease a building, the owner normally has that responsibility. Is that
It's
something?
not, you don't have to, so it's similar to what we have with the Spikes agreement. We own the house, but it's actually maintained by the house authority.
So it's not
It's
necessarily.
all dependent on how you rate the ground lease.
Right.
Or the lease, but typically you can actually put the burden. You can put the responsibility on the leasing.
Okay, because that I think is also one where that's the sort of the burden we're also trying to
Right.
free ourselves from. I thought, I mean, maybe you can just tell me if the details are in that longer document that I haven't read yet, that I won't flip through. You can just say that and that'll be a short answer. But I was wondering about how the need was determined for co-working and for community art gallery, because I don't think of community art galleries as big money makers. So getting a partner to lease a space to be a community art gallery, that didn't seem like the moneymaker, and like need for the co-working because there's just so much office space available. With and people working from home, people don't necessarily need offices. Yeah, are the details in that other document?
Co-working part is,
The co-working part is, okay, good, okay, then you don't have to go into it here, because it's just, I haven't read it yet. And
But it's a good segue to a piece that I wanted to say in terms of your other question is the other salient fact about the mixed use option, it's more exciting. It involves more people, not both for members of the committee, but also people from town. One of the reasons that art space in any format is on the table is because it's something that there was response to from in the survey, that a lot of people do consider themselves creative in some way and have an interest in seeing or doing or somehow being involved in art. And so, you know, the designs basically use the hallway outside the existing classrooms.
Yeah.
That's
the
where
outfits.
that is. But part of the idea of that is not to make money, but to generate engagement.
So who would be the partner that?
I
You might
think in
have
that
that.
case, the partnership that's arranging the leases and that kind of thing, at least this has been my conjecture. That what's really at issue here is scheduling. And I think that's something that they could take on.
Who are they?
The public-private partnership, that is,
No, who would be the partner?
For
the art gallery
gallery.
portion.
no, I think it wouldn't need one. The public-private partnership is kind of overseeing the other uses. So they're the ones
Right.
arranging
Like
the leases.
managing the,
So,
They're managing.
so maybe I'm
So I think
I was
they
thinking the
could, as
people
part of
managing a
this-
commercial kitchen might be different from people managing
Yeah.
a co-working space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
From
would
people
need-
managing an
Absolutely.
art gallery. So I'm trying to get an
I'm
idea
trying,
of who are the
I
partners.
think that for the gallery, this is my opinion, we haven't discussed it.
Yeah.
You would definitely need somebody, partner who knows how to manage a commercial kitchen. Would need a partner who knows how to manage co-working. I'm not sure that you would need a partner for the art gallery space. I think that perhaps the partnership, the umbrella could take on the role of scheduling, which is
Yeah.
the bulk of it.
So who's gonna be, like, who are possible umbrellas? I mean, I'm just trying, I'm trying to ask, is
It's an
that,
organization, it's a nonprofit organization.
Like a board.
It's a board.
so somebody forms a nonprofit.
There would probably be a representative of the town.
And the town would have one seat on that board.
So a nonprofit would, okay, so I guess, is there more details about that in the other longer document? Okay,
No, that's,
So-
that's a piece that needs development.
oh, okay.
We
Oh,
want your input on that.
oh,
We
okay.
have begun to,
So the question at this point is,
brainstorm.
you don't have a lot of, you're not at the point where you actually
No,
have
that's-
an idea, a list of, okay. No, I'm
that's
just,
our next task,
That's
as
it,
long
the
as we're
next
going in the right direction to pursue
okay.
potential partners. Identify possibilities,
Right.
imagine the framework of how they work together
Yeah, so for
and
example,
separately.
if the people who run the commercial, the FCCDC runs the commercial kitchen in Greenfield.
Right.
Might be a natural partner for a commercial kitchen. Or
Perhaps.
perhaps, but you haven't really looked into it yet, so, okay, so I'm asking
What
questions.
we
that
do
you-
know at this point is that they have graduated or to being a processor. They no longer do the startup timeshare kitchen, and they
Okay.
need feeder entries to develop their process
Oh,
packing
okay.
business. So
They've
we're hoping,
become the 1,500 to
Right.
2,000 unit.
so that helps
packaging
create a
company.
need, and it's also possible that they might be interested in a satellite operation.
Right.
We don't
Oh,
know,
okay, okay,
but it's that kind of thing.
all right, well, I've been hogging up all the questions, so maybe.
Oh, it's been lovely, yeah. Appreciate it.
So, maybe I'll, open it up to,
I would think one of the things that would need to be pursued is, as far as determining which of these options we prefer, is to get an idea of need for childcare versus commercial kitchen, because both are sharing with a, cooperative office space, and I think there was a need for that. But while there is office space, it's not, it's long-term rentals, offices as opposed to for a day, a week, an hour. Quick meeting, which there isn't as much in this area, but I think trying to weigh childcare versus commercial kitchen, both of which are very valid uses. We need to get an idea for the area, beyond even just Whately, of which would be the more desirable, the preferable use, which has greater demand.
That if I may.
Yeah.
With childcare, it's also economic viability. There's a huge demand for childcare, obviously, as we all know. The reason there's high demand is because it's not very economically viable. And finding people who are licensed to be child providers and the amount of money that you have to pay them, and they get paid horrible salaries to begin with, sadly. So there are just a lot of functions beyond just demand, it's demand and it's.
Well, yeah, but given the lack of that, and yes, it's difficult to establish for those reasons, is that more of a reason for us to try to do it? To try to fill a demand which is hard to fill.
Yeah, I would argue that a lot of people have,
A lot of people have tried and failed,
many
yes.
times, and it's hard.
Yes,
It's really hard.
but I'm just saying, but is that a reason for us not to pursue it in the first place?
I think if we have success finding a partner for the commercial kitchen, that the interest in that and assuming that the farming community is interested, which we really need to investigate further. I think we would like to go ahead with that, just because it does offer so much to the community.
I think both alternatives offer a lot to the community.
But, no, you're right. I mean,
yeah,
if there's no demonstrated need, then you're definitely not gonna find a party.
is some of that information in the other big long document?
Yeah.
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 You find quite a bit there
Yeah.
about what
It looked like quite a bit, which is why it's not been read by me yet, so.
the other will.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll have another snow day this Sunday.
Does the cost estimate on the commercial kitchen include outfitting the kitchen, the equipment?
That's why it's so expensive, relative.
Yeah.
I think that's about 300.
Outfitting and getting it up to standards for,
Yeah, like this
Certification.
freezer, walk-in fridge space.
Right.
Walk-in freezer space. Stove storage, vents. And septic for to support.
yeah.
That was my next question. The septic plan did accommodate for the commercial kitchen.
In that scenario.
Yeah, okay.
In addition to the long report. There's an equally long appendix with,
Well, that's the one I was talking about, actually, I think. Where is it?
the appendix mostly has
Yeah,
cost,
right, that was the one I was talking about,
Cost scenarios.
the appendix, it looks like it's 125 pages.
and that's,
So, but you said there's, and then the other report.
there's
That,
only 72 pages.
right, and it's, of course, I can't find my window right now.
No, it's the other report you want to start with, but I do think maybe the appendix might, and also the list of grants might be useful to the housing committee for their work, because I mean, just the approach of the analysis.
Yeah, well,
There's cost, there's.
the housing committee is going a different avenue right now.
I know, but it's the methodology and the list of grants, grant
Right.
providers. I think methodology for the calculations, there are things there that I would never find.
I found it, I've never said it. I've even more to read, yeah.
The other thing about the commercial kitchen is, you know, whoever's operating it, I assume would have to have someone on site because. You know, it needs to be, you know, maintained and cleaned and kept up to standards.
Yeah, that,
To a greater degree than, you know, leaving overnight a childcare.
right, I mean, it would require some management time and the cost, the rental fees would need to cover that.
And I think you'll find those numbers in the document that you all have, inclusive in terms of the staffing costs.
And this may be getting too far down the road as far as what a potential agreement would be. Would you anticipate that it would, given there will be a partnership, that there'll be a payment in lieu of taxes, given that the town will continue to own it, or
We haven't got,
you have, okay.
we're pretty impressed with how far we could get.
Yes, I
Yeah.
figured I'd ask anyway.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't think anyone's completely eliminated the option of the town not owning the building, but that's the preference at this point, the strong preference.
I think that would be everyone's preferences.
Yeah,
the town.
yeah.
That was our marching.
Right. Because I think that part of the problem is the town doesn't want to lose control of the property.
But to have
If-
options in your back pocket is always.
Right, but if it gets sold, then it can be converted to anything else.
Well, what covenants, but yeah.
You know, one big step in this process was discovering that all of, which you probably knew anyway, but I knew the state investment tax credits could be sold. I didn't know the federal ones were, and they're huge. And
They can be, they can.
Yeah.
And would have to
The
be
historic,
historic preservation tax
Yeah.
credits, yeah.
if it was still on the town, it would have to be.
Yeah, but that takes away one of the obstacles. The
Right.
obstacle that's remaining is prevailing wage, but that's every municipality.
Has to deal with that, yes.
right, but you know, we didn't feel like we could start approaching people. We don't have a certain plan yet.
Right,
We have lots of ideas. We needed to come back and say, give us your feedback on what direction you're comfortable with us going.
Yeah, no, my question was, yeah, I just didn't know if you'd discussed potential, you know, revenue streams and expenses.
We've started to brainstorm those.
There's a lot of detail on what reasonable projections are in the report.
Right, and that's a next step we didn't put in here, but starting to like create business plan with numbers. Some of it's in the McCabe report, but we're also starting to develop more of that, but we don't want to go too far until we're clear where we're at.
But I would spend a little time with the full report, just looking at
Yeah,
some of those numbers. I mean,
I
maybe,
saw it, but I've not
yeah,
gone all.
maybe just pick one option and get a sense of the detail into which one of the mixed use options and get a sense of it. Cause there's a lot there.
They did a spectacular job. I read about half the report and I was really impressed. I have a quick question about the farming community. I love the idea of knitting in a farming community. At this point, is that based on any real understanding of interest from folks? Or is it just like, gosh, it would be nice and we need to approach them and see what they think? Okay.
We have anecdotal evidence about individuals who might be interested in it, and
Individuals who are farmers
well,
Or home kitchen people who would be interested.
oh, I see, okay.
there used to be a
Really?
lady who sold pickles, Christian Lane,
Yeah, yeah.
remember? But she can't anymore because she doesn't meet the Board of Health requirements. They shut her
Okay.
down. But a certified kitchen, she could do that.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Well, and that's another advantage to the mixed use of the residential. It makes the town more attractive to people
Yes,
who might want to move in.
Mm-hmm.
To having, it's an amenity that other towns don't necessarily have.
Although I think we would let people from surrounding towns.
No, but if someone's looking around the area, it makes Whately look good. Right.
So, I mean, we definitely, we did hear from one kitchen that, you know, they heard from farmers, yeah, that would be great to have, and then they didn't make great use of it. So we're very clear that we need to have specific conversations, starting in Whately, but hopefully beyond Whately, to have a clear understanding of what would be of interest. You know, also, does this tie in with interchange 35? Am I saying it right?
Yeah.
Um, And, you know, there's one food truck there now. Will there be more later? You know, it's close.
you know, Kathy McCabe really thinks the food truck could be a food truck niche.
Right.
I mean, I'm gonna kind of draw this to a close. It sounds like you want us to weigh in. And I feel like what I'm sort of hearing is, yeah, I get it about the housing. I'm not sure I've read enough and feel well informed enough to understand why you're saying the commercial kitchen's a better idea than the daycare. And it's just because I haven't read all the detail. Does that seem like kind of what we're? So maybe can we have some time?
Yeah.
And then maybe at our next meeting, can we put it back on the agenda for our next meeting? But we
I
have,
certainly think the.
we have over 200 pages of homework.
I certainly think the sense of the board is to go towards the mixed use rather than the housing options. Those look
My
more.
only concern upon reading it at first though was, well, if you manage to get money to fund housing and you get a developer who says they're gonna do it, what you've got is units of housing that people move into and that's that. With a mixed use facility, it might be a case of build it and they will come. But it also might be a case if we end up with a commercial kitchen that nobody really wants. And a childcare center that nobody's really using, and a co-working space and an art gallery that people are like, that's awesome. I'm not gonna go there. So that is my concern about the mixed use.
So that,
Address that,
Beg your pardon?
well, I feel like that's why I wanna read
Right,
this,
yeah.
because you got the needs study in there, and so I don't necessarily wanna use up a lot more time here, and try to bring this to a
I'd love
close.
to hear what he has.
I just wanna say that to assuage Julie's concern, this is not a, if you build it, they will come kind of thing. We know that if you just build it and you don't market it, you don't treat it like a business, guess what? They will absolutely not come. So this is about creating market demand, providing services and treating it like a small
Business
business.
plan, yeah.
And for Joyce, I think aside from need of childcare versus commercial kitchen, we thought the community would get more excited behind commercial kitchen. And that it would be easier to sell and also easier perhaps for grants. But
Okay,
because of the economic development implications.
And
well, we may well agree with you by the time we finish our
Right,
homework.
well, and also the community kitchen is still paired with working space that we hope will support, have a mechanism to support
Mhm.
childcare, not a licensed childcare, but a system where people could have 3 hours and there would be a mechanism for somebody to be with their kids there.
In a playground.
Like they can't have a room for, I don't know, whoever their babysitter that they brought.
Licensing issues and all sorts of stuff.
Right, but so we're sort of trying to split the difference and
It's still very early in the process.
exactly.
One thing that I think you didn't mention, I'm not sure. With the co-working space on weekends and after hours, we think it could be available to the community. As a place for assembly or functions. And the pairing with the commercial kitchen is a big asset there. It's very hard, I understand, to find a kitchen now where you wanna have you have some talented cooks in your group and you want to put on a function to find a kitchen where you can do that, feed a lot of people, it's difficult.
The only problem with that is your parking plan would not support that.
That,
Can we,
Yeah.
let's leave
Yeah,
this
there's
here.
lots of
We've
detail.
got-
yeah,
still.
Yeah, so we've got some homework to do, but I thank you for all your work on this. Because until, I mean, I always feel like it's really important that we get good information, and sometimes you have to pay for it, and that's, I think, what we got.
we got
And,
twice as much as we paid for.
Yeah.
If not more time.
Yeah, and that was really good, and that was missing in the previous process, so that's, so thank you.
So unless we hear from you otherwise, we're gonna keep working.
Yes.
No, yeah, and we're not gonna tell you to stop.
I didn't.
Is there anything else you would need from us at this point?
The specific one grant,
EDA,
Okay?
yeah, is that something we have your okay to
I know,
pursue?
So I'll step in. So
Okay.
Caroline did provide information that says the EDA generally expects to fund up to 80% of the eligible cost of the grant assistance. With the ability to go up to 100% only if you can demonstrate that you've exhausted all effective taxing and borrowing capacity. That there is no local match of funds that's reasonably attainable, and that you meet other thresholds for elevated based on overall regional economic conditions. So there is a gap that would have to be there. Your gap could be filled by other grants. It doesn't have to be town money, but it does mean that there is a match likely necessary. So before we can apply, you would have to.
We'd have to be able to account for the 20%.
Or you'd have to demonstrate for us as the grant applicant to say in the grant application there, you're gonna have to say. I have identified these other funding sources. You may not have been approved for them, but you've identified them. But we can't apply for something unless we know that the match has at least been identified.
So identifies not received.
But identified.
Oh, that's,
Exactly,
That's easy.
identified, yeah.
Okay.
That's easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and just, as you're reading stuff, please think about what next steps you think we might not have listed yet. We know there's some we haven't listed, but, we want your brainstorming on that. And additional possible partners.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great, thank you so much. Thank you
Yeah,
very
are we
much.
here just for the next?
Yeah, are you
Yeah,
asking
put
us
on the
to come
agenda
back?
for the next meeting and then we'll have had one more time to digest it and we may well come back and say, yeah, and we understand why you guys are saying that. But at the moment, I just want to take a little closer look at the data.
I'll send you but it's February 11th, but I can send you the agendas that somebody attend.
Okay. Thank you.
Or, I mean, honestly, it could just be a Zoom.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, very good. Maybe like we have just a couple more items. One is to discuss, review and vote to replace our current recycled and compostable product purchasing policy with the environmentally preferable purchasing policy. They had to get the PPC in there in both cases. And my understanding is that if we reword our policy this way, we're eligible for grants.
We will
Our current
retain eligibility.
retain eligibility for some grants that we like. And it's, in some ways, it's an update. I don't feel like it's very controversial, but what do you all think?
I'm fine with it.
And finally, there's controversy here.
Okay, I felt the same way. Okay. All right, I would entertain a motion.
I move that the board replace the recycled and compostable product purchasing policy with the environmentally preferable purchasing policy as.
Second.
All those in favor?
I
Aye.
Aye. All right, then we've got a special event permit, the Black Birch Vineyard 10-mile race on March 29th. Going right by my house,
And my.
almost by yours, and they're gonna miss Fred. It looks like,
Shucks.
I didn't catch I mean, there's a lot of emailed approvals here, but they're not on this page. Is it actually all of them?
Yes,
It is all of them.
all but the Board of Health, since there is no food truck at this
Yeah.
event,
Okay,
but all the necessary approvals
all the
are
necessary
in your
ones
packet, yeah.
are there,
I highlighted them so you could see who they were coming from,
yes,
make it a little easier.
yeah. And we've had this before,
Yeah.
Yep.
they behave themselves.
Yes, and great here too, if you have any
Oh.
questions.
Hey everybody, thank you for having me. It's our 7th time doing this event, and it's always a good time. We have about 300 runners. I'm a Whately resident myself, so really appreciate being able to do this event. If you have any questions about it at all, I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah.
No.
I didn't have any questions. My main question was, did everybody sign up? Because, I mean, those are the people that you really have to, the fire chief and the police chief, those are the people that have to be happy with you. And if they
Yes.
are happy with you, I am certainly not gonna stand in the way.
Okay.
Is there, anybody have any other questions you
No
wanna?
questions, no comments.
Okay,
I move that the board approve the request for a one-day special event permit to impact racing for the Black Birch Vineyard 10-miler event on March 29th, 2026.
Second,
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Grant.
great. So let's board liaison updates. Do you understand, Fred?
I have no meeting updates, but as liaison to the highway department, I want to thank very much the highway department, especially Eric, Dylan and Scott for their almost tireless work
Oh, my
over
God.
this weekend.
Wowza.
Yeah,
From what I
I hope they're
understand,
taking
they
their
worked
time.
almost 2 straight days.
I think they better be taking.
I
their
think
comp
they did a
time.
fantastic job.
Yeah, here,
That was a heck of a storm.
That was.
yeah.
Good job, guys.
That's it.
No meeting updates from me. Excuse me, I just wanted to let folks know that the Giving Garden Committee has started a small food pantry in the lobby here, and it's actually got a fair amount of
Yeah.
stuff in it. If you have additional food items to bring in to share with folks who are struggling to put food on the table, please come on in and put them in the lobby. If you need food, come on in and see what's there. You can also call Amy LaValle at the town offices and ask her what's out there before you make the trip. Just in case you don't like black beans.
Yeah,
Um,
there's peanut butter too.
There's peanut butter, there's mac and cheese, there's a bunch of stuff. The other thing is I wanted to ask the rest of the board if you would be willing to put on an upcoming agenda a discussion of a town response to national events. And the ways in which the trickle down from those might be affecting folks around here at some point, either currently or in the future. That was kind of where the Giving Garden came from. I started
Yeah.
looking at it last year.
Right,
The food policies and thought people were gonna go hungry. And we're now looking at a variety of different impacts that are not pleasant. And do we want to have a discussion about town response and what we can do?
I think that might be
I
appropriate
think that's
for our agenda. And I mean, I was chatting with Pete about this, that among the things that have been happening are, you know, I'll say police response and federal police response have been very much out of whack with each other.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
especially thinking about what's happening in Minnesota, and it might be a chance to ask our police chief to come in. I happen to know as a police liaison that they do a lot of training, including de-escalation training. That it's so much better to not have a problem than to have a problem, right? And that de-escalation is really key. So it might be a chance to invite Jim in to kind of, because, you know,
I think it would be important for.
yeah, I think he'd be an important person to have in that discussion. So it could be at our next meeting and Jim is available, but maybe we should check with him about trying to put it on one of the 2 February meetings. I guess if it were possible, I'd say that the earlier one would be better.
Yeah.
The solo meeting, not a town meeting.
Right, a solo meeting, no.
Yes, yeah, on the thing, yeah.
Yeah,
So probably the 11th, but I'll check with Jim.
yeah, and see if he's available.
But we could also have the initial discussion on the 11th, and if Jim's not available, that one.
Yeah.
Do the follow-up with him on the 2nd February.
Yeah.
meeting.
I don't know, we're just really interested in kind of this, because I know, I mean, you know, we are all about community policing. And, you know, I just, yes, because we're in a community, but he may have some, you know, some other insight, you know, the immigration and customs enforcement are starting to go to Maine. That's what I heard, which is a lot closer. Maybe they're starting with the M's. Minnesota, Maine,
Yes.
I don't know. So it's
I think it's important to have the police chief here for any discussion of any potential relationship to federal and local.
yeah, and so that we have.
I can work with Pete, I've already discussed this with him, excuse me. To put together a list of things we might wanna discuss, but I
I
certainly.
think that would be
Other
fine.
ideas.
And
yeah.
I know as chair, I'm supposed to do the agenda, but I would relinquish that part of the agenda to you.
That portion, okay, yeah.
And,
Another person we might want to have in is representative the Ag Commission. Because there could well be implications on workforce.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Who would you suggest?
The
Doug.
Would be
Doug and
Yeah.
Chair, or whoever the Ag Commission would want to
Yeah,
designate. But I think
I
it
can
would be
reach out to
important
Doug
to,
as I correspond with him about, getting started.
yeah.
but I think it'd be important to have them and to
yeah,
voice any concerns
Yeah.
that they might have.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
okay,
Appreciate that.
sure, great. My 2 main responsibilities are just moving along. We went before the Whately Capital Improvement Committee today about if we have the new space, what do we need for tables and chairs and security cameras and first security and the hardware, is it really part of the building and should be in the building or should it be a capital item? And that's still, texts are still going back and forth about that. So there's that, and we're just kind of moving along with all the various finance committees. I've got a little slideshow I think give you guys, but it'll be at one of our finance committee meetings as well, so it doesn't seem like a reason to give it twice. The other committee, the cable franchise committee, we met with our new Comcast rep, who's really our old Comcast rep, Steve Fitzgibbons. We had, I think, a productive meeting. I think, I have to post the next meeting. It's not gonna be till February. I think it's there's the next time we expect to meet with Steve Fitzgibbons. That was actually good because Steve's like a real person who we know. And we'll either get to an agreement soon or I don't know, we'll have to take him out to the woodshed or something. I don't know. We don't really do that. But it's not like we're just getting dumped on some new person who doesn't know us and we did it at the APCAT offices and we reviewed with him that we had a really full house. We had 2 hours of people testifying about the good use we put the money they've given us so far. So we're very hopeful that we'll come to a good agreement on that. Cool. Town administrator updates.
Just a few. We received notice about Berkshire Gas. Their proposed increase in utility rates, DPU, the Department of Public Utilities is holding a number of hearings related to that increase request. The first one is an in-person hearing that'll be held January 29th at 7 p.m. at the Greenfield Middle School auditorium.
It's tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow night. There is then a virtual public hearing next week on February 4th at 7 p.m. And then following the next day, there's going to be another in-person public hearing, February 5th at 7 p.m. at Berkshire Community College in the Bowling Theater. They're also receiving written comments that can be submitted. It is a significant increase. Any increases have to go through DPU review. The Public Utilities does authorize rates. However, it is a significant rate increase. Primarily, they state that it's to do capital improvements on infrastructure, but it's a very large increase. So
Is it big?
very. So anybody in the public, please go to these hearings, understand where that increase is coming from, but also be sure to submit comments so that the Public Utilities is aware of what that burden is that's actually happening on the ratepayers. Second is everybody knows that State Rep Natalie Bly is stepping down or has stepped down from her role. With that, Senator Paul Mark's office has reached out to say that they will help to support Natalie's district area residents and communities, and the office, Natalie's office, is still also supporting as well. The staff is still there to support. So feel free, if you were generally in contact with Natalie, you can still reach out with her through our office, but also Paul Mark's office is available.
I also understand that there will not be a special election for that.
Yes, we don't need representation.
So we will not have a state rep until next January.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That was at the discretion of who made that decision?
Okay.
No, I think it was the Secretary of State.
Oh, Secretary.
Our good friend. Yeah.
Okay. And then the last item is with regards to the November spill that happened at Yankee Candle. We did receive a follow-up that a permanent solution was performed to clean up the site at the property by Ty and Bond. And that is it.
All right. Motion then?
I have an item not anticipated. I just wanted to remind you guys that I'm doing the annual report. I'm starting to collect the annual reports for 2025. The select board typically does a dedication page and then a select board report. So I believe the select board report will come from you. And then I just wanted to put that bug in your ear about the dedication page.
It tends to be the chair's
I
prerogative.
have to figure out who
Yeah.
to get it to.
So no rush on that. I just
Really?
wanted to just put that in your ear and just
Okay.
remind you, but we got some time, so.
That'll,
Yeah, if she
Yeah.
was staying, maybe.
Well, what
No,
about?
it has to be, it should be within town.
oh, it has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's normally what's,
I mean, I think we have a couple recent passages or leaders that, we can both sort of consider.
Why don't we adjourn? for-
Yeah.
let's adjourn.
I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.